What is going on, guys? In this video I'll be taking a look at the newly released Nissan GT-R Nismo GT3, which is going to be one of the new vehicles added in the update on the Crew 2. I'm really hoping this car is going to be good because it seems like a lot of the new touring vehicles have actually been pretty decent. There's also another version of this car in the Motor Pass level 25, which is basically the same one, but the Forsberg Racing version of that vehicle, which I will be testing these out against each other. I might end up doing a comparison video on these cars in the future just to see how they actually compare to each other, because I have a feeling they might be insanely similar, but also sometimes the cars could be the same and be very different as well. But stay tuned for a video on this car in the near future. But nonetheless, if you guys want to buy the regular GT-R Nismo, all you have to do is head over to the HQ and you can buy this vehicle for $289,000, which really isn't too bad at all, especially for a touring vehicle. Sometimes these cars can be pretty expensive. I would recommend also buying the bundle. Might save you guys a little bit of money on the new vehicles here. I unfortunately did buy them separately just because, well, I wanted to test them out and I didn't actually want to get the bundle there. But anyway, let's buy this thing right now and actually see the colors that can go on it. So obviously we have the white color there, which does look pretty awesome. Then we have the black color, which looks very similar to the Forsberg Racing. Then we have blue, then yellow, and then finally the darker gray, which I think all the colors look very good on this vehicle. For me, I'm going to end up going with the white color there. So let's buy this thing right now. And now, just in case you guys might have been wondering, there's not much that can be done to the Nismo, most likely because this is a touring vehicle and I don't think you can customize really any of these, but you can change a color if you guys would like, and or the colors that are in the game pretty much for all the other vehicles as well. You can also do the vanity items, but it looks like just for this vehicle, only the underglows and the horns are available for this, which I noticed some of the other cars are like that as well. Luckily, this vehicle is already heavily customized, but nonetheless, guys, let's take an outside look at this thing. Then I want to take this car on a top speed run to see what it can actually get to compared to some of the other touring vehicles in game. Then we definitely have to take this vehicle into an actual touring car race to really see how it can perform. And now, taking an outside look at the new Nismo, we can all agree this thing definitely looks amazing. I've actually been waiting for this vehicle to be added into the touring car class because I really do feel like it was missing. But let's take a listen. And then moving over to the interior view of the Nissan, I really do love the detail of this thing, plus that idling sound of this engine is absolutely incredible. But now let's go see what the top speed of the Nismo actually is, because we all know the touring cars have been insanely competitive with the Renault pretty much taking over everything, then the lovely Koenigsegg CC GT coming in as well. But let's see what the Nismo can actually do. So this car is going to be a 6-speed, which makes me like it a lot right there. Sometimes the 7 speeds you gotta shift it a lot if you guys are in manual, but let's see what this car can get to. I will also be running the Nitro Chemist if you guys might have been wondering, so let's see here. 250 miles an hour, 252, 253. Looks like it's going to be the top speed there. I did notice sometimes the top speed can vary depending on the road you are actually on, so do keep that in mind. Or they're on the track there, so you really cannot hit 250 anyway. But the biggest thing is, how's this car going to actually handle, because that is a big part of these vehicles. The Nissan's going to be a pretty decent vehicle, especially when it comes to performance. Now the big question is, can this car actually hang out with like the Koenigsegg CC GT or the lovely Renault, because we know how amazing those cars actually are. I personally would love to have another vehicle I can use to change up the variety and all that and the gameplay a little bit. So the Nissan definitely might be a pretty dang good option for that. But nonetheless, let's take this thing into a touring car race to really see what it can do in there. So jumping into the race test with the new Nismo here, so I figured I'd jump over to Jersey City because this race is really fun to do overall, plus it gives you a really good sense of how the vehicle might actually perform. Now I have been noticing the touring vehicles have been pretty much showing up in summits a lot more, so having a good vehicle to actually use would really not be a bad thing, but having one that can do everything really well is also good, because the US Speed Tour races can be a bit of a challenge depending on the car you guys run on those. So overall, first impressions on the Nismo, I'm honestly pretty impressed with this vehicle so far. The speed definitely seems really good. I'm wondering how the one in the Forsberg Racing is going to do in the Motor Pass, because we all know sometimes the other cars can actually be a little bit better and or worse, even though it's the exact same vehicle, which is kind of crazy. But nonetheless, the Nismo actually seems like a pretty decent vehicle from what I could see. This car is completely hugging the ground with no issues at all. I'm kind of surprised with the grip of this vehicle. When checking a lot of the leaderboards and all that in many of these events, I noticed the Renault is basically on top with all of them still, even though the Koenigsegg CC GT has really been showing up a lot recently. I have been loving that car a lot, and I would really like another vehicle I can actually test out in future summits. I think the Nismo is definitely going to be in that category for me. I mean, this car definitely seems really good overall, great handling and stability, and the speed's also really good when coming out of corners. Like, look at the turning radius on that. Like, that is amazing. The car doesn't lose itself. Some of them are pretty bad. For example, the NSX GT3 in the recent Summit, my goodness, that car was honestly a nightmare to drive. It slid out on a lot of the turns, it wasn't handling that well, and the speed was just not there. You could definitely see when some cars are pretty good and others are not, and I feel like some of them are definitely pretty bad, at least compared to something like the Nismo here. I definitely recommend checking this car out, guys. Try this thing out, definitely try my settings on it as well. This thing is eating these corners for breakfast. It's kind of impressive. The speed's also very good. If you guys like driving manual, you'll definitely enjoy this vehicle as well. Sometimes these vehicles can be really annoying to use in manual. Luckily, the Nismo doesn't seem to be in that category. I think it's actually really fun to shift and all that. You could be in the right gears around these turns, which will make the experience a lot more fun as well, because sometimes the vehicles, I just cannot stand how some of them drive in manual, my goodness. But luckily in automatic, you should be okay. But definitely try out the Nismo, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this vehicle in the comments below. And definitely stay tuned for the Forsberg Racing version of this vehicle that's in the Motor Pass, because I feel like the Nismo is going to have a lot of potential here. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments below, and here are my current settings I'm running on this vehicle.